imagine that, you know, with President Trump right now calling all of these news organizations that have inconvenient for him stories that they're getting out there, that he's calling fake news, and now lashing out at platforms. I would never want to see our executive branch have that sort of power. And that's why, you know, the legislative process with our duly elected officials is really important, that sort of consultative rulemaking process. And we can't just govern by executive order anymore. I think I'll leave it there. I think the reverberations in the free speech space are huge. Not to mention, this is exactly what Section 230 was designed to do, to allow the platforms to enforce the standards on their own spaces. So I think, you know, the entire conversation is being obviously blown out of proportion for political reasons. I'm super, but in the more democratic countries, I'm thinking in particular of Poland. Poland has established this consultative process with its Ministry of Digitalization and Facebook, because, like the Trump administration, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Law and Justice Party got this idea from the Trump administration. They believe that there's anti-conservative bias on Facebook, even though there have been multiple studies that prove otherwise. And they have this consultative process where they send someone from the Ministry of Digitalization to discuss with Facebook's officers in Warsaw all of the instances of unfair content moderation, and some of them are being overturned through that political pressure. They have a tip line that people can kind of report when they think their content has been unjustly overturned. And the Trump administration has a similar thing. So it's providing a lot of fodder for anti-democratic online governance. And it's very, very scary. And I think this is really where Congress needs to step in. I think we're seeing cooperation ramp up on a number of levels. So I will be completely honest and say that my program at the Wilson Center is partially funded by Facebook.
Information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain. They're laundering disinfo and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice, or vote. Oh!
This is the point of the show. We're going to say we're kidding. We're making all of this up.
How do you feel about the Ministry of Truth?
This is the kind of thing that you see in dictatorships, this Ministry of Truth, this Department of Propaganda that the Biden administration has just stood up. And the reason why you see this in dictatorships is because they're afraid of us. They're afraid of the people. They're afraid that we might actually think for ourselves. And so now they've created this body that will do two things. Number one, it'll use taxpayer dollars to work through the mainstream media and flood the airwaves with whatever their propaganda narrative is that they're pushing at any given time, and try to drown out anyone with alternate views. And number two, they will silence dissenting voices through intimidation.
All right,
I think the thing to recognize with this, just real quick, is that this isn't something new. This is something that they have already been doing, that's happening right now. The only difference is they're formalizing it, making it official, which, if there's a silver lining in this, it is they're revealing exactly who they are and why they're doing it, what they're trying to accomplish. And it allows us, the American people, to stand up and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to let you get away with this crap. We will take a stand. We will reject it. And we will throw out of office those who are continuing to push and propagate this undemocratic, anti-free speech mission.
Now, the good news is that almost all the big tech platforms now acknowledge some responsibility for content on their platforms, and they're investing in large teams of people to monitor it. Given the sheer volume of content, this strategy can feel like a game of whack-a-mole. Still, in talking to people at these companies, I believe they are sincere in trying to limit content that engages in hate speech, encourages violence, or poses a threat to public safety. They genuinely are concerned about it. They want to do something about it. But while content moderation can limit the distribution of clearly dangerous content, it doesn't go far enough. Now, the good news is that almost all the big tech platforms.
Happy Monday. Hopefully everyone's having an awesome weekend, or awesome week so far. Hopefully you had an awesome weekend. Now, I went to go to Lowe's yesterday to pick up some 5-gallon buckets, and I got a strawberry plant and a blackberry plant. Forget what the other plant was, but it was a 2-for-1. I was really just want blackberries, because I heard that they were really hardy once they take root and really hard to kill. Just requires a very minimalistic approach, which that's kind of what I want to do with my property. I want hardy crops, but not time-consuming crops, mainly because I won't be there for years every day. But I have to talk about the Ministry of Truth. Pretty sure we all watched 1984 or read 1984. They had a Ministry of Truth. Hitler had a Ministry of Truth. I'm pretty sure Stalin had a Ministry of Truth. And now Biden is having a Ministry of Truth. Now, there's one of those videos I showed where the head of the Ministry of Truth was thinking about misinformation or disinformation. And there was a video prior to that showing that she was against any president to make a Ministry of Truth. Not so much those words. Then you have Tulsi Gabbard pretty much laying out that Biden's becoming a dictator. Well, maybe not him, but setting up down the road for a dictator. And then, of course, you had one of our famous presidents saying that we must censorship online. I disagree with President Obama saying that we have to do more censorship. I think there should be very limited moderation. Now, if there's clearly harassment or targeted harassment and not saying something stupid and feeling the heat of the internet for you saying something stupid, but actually target harassment, then that should be dealt with. There's clear cases of that. But if I'm over here saying that I believe XYZ, for example, that kids cannot be trans, the government should not be able to take away my speech to say that kids can't be trans. I don't agree with that statement. I don't think they're mature enough to make that decision. And I think any parents that's making that decision for the kids is a form of child abuse. And this is what the Ministry of Truth will do. Ministry of Truth will come out and say, I cannot be saying those things. Or saying that Biden sucks and he's a terrible president. Because he is a terrible president. Should never have been president. It's debatable if he should have been vice president under Obama. But of course, this is just a warning. 1984 was a warning. Hopefully we will not go down the same path. Hopefully in a couple of months for midterms, we send a powerful message to the Democratic Party to cut that crap out. And hopefully we elect intelligent Republicans that have a backbone that would defund the Ministry of Truth and to hold Biden accountable. And hopefully he does get impeached. Now, I do know that will mean that Harris will take the reins. No, but she could work there for 6 more months, being incompetent. And we will remove her too, hopefully. Or we'll just remove Biden, send a warning to Harris. Harris will serve out her 2 term or 2 years or whatever. And we elect another Republican. I know it's probably going to be Trump. That's my biggest fear, that we're going to elect Trump. And once Trump gets out of office, we won't have someone to replace him that shares the same sentiment or the same policies. But anyways, I know I'm not going too far in depth with the Ministry of Truth, because right now it has no teeth. Right now it's just a something to rile our cages, but we definitely need to have the our radar turned on and be focused on it. But let's not overwhelm ourselves with it. Have some light of it, have some fun of it, and make sure that we send a powerful message to Washington, D.C. to cut out this nonsense. With that being said, leave a comment down below on what are your thoughts about the Ministry of Truth 2022. What do you think about the head of the Ministry of Truth, or the one that they want to appoint? I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. With that being said, hopefully you have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.